What's up, everybody? It's time for episode 19 of Bleav in Queens. I'm Joe Serralo, as always, joined by my guys, Tyler Ward, the schmuck in the schmuck shirt, and former New York Met, Happy Mickey, not Angry Mickey, Happy Mickey, Anthony Recker. We've got a lot to get into, guys. Look, this is a great time to have a show. The Mets just took 2 out of 3 from the smack talking first place LA Dodgers, and I can't wait to see this match a third time in the NLCS. That's right. I'm calling it right now. Mets Dodgers. The Mets just took 4 out of 7 in the regular season. I think they're going to take 4 out of 7 against the Dodgers again before 2022 is over. But before we dive into that, just a reminder, episode 19 of Bleav in Queens is brought to you by BetOnline. Head over to betonline.ag, get your latest lines, odds, news, and developments over there. And when you make that first deposit, use the promo code BLEAV50. That's BLEAV50 for your 50% welcome bonus. Folks, we don't just have another month of the MLB regular season and then MLB playoffs. We've got the NFL kicking off in exactly a week. Right here in LA, the Bills and the Rams. I can't wait for football season. We've also got college football season. Rec and myself, both big Penn State fans. Rec, I took a -3.5. How's that looking, baby?
21-10 at the half, baby. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Let's go.
All right,
Let's go.
all right.
We are.
We are, baby. Get those bets in. Head over to BetOnline and let the games begin. Tyler, you might not be as excited about this Penn State game as Rec and I are, but I know you're excited about the Mets taking 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, especially today, a little come from behind win, man. Just let it all out. Let that excitement out, Ward.
Oh, so good. I mean, so good. Look, after you saw how they lost in game one, which I'm someone where, especially if you guys watch me on YouTube, I do post-game shows after every game. I'm really trying to be rational. Like, I act irrational, but normally in a positive manner after they win. So to see them lose, when you see the Dodgers come in, they leave 11 on base, right? And this was a game where you're looking at a Dodgers team that didn't look like the best Dodgers that you would be facing. And for the Mets to not really step up to the plate and take enough of advantage of the opportunities given them in game one, I was pretty pissed. I was pretty fuming. It's like, how many times are you going to get a chance to face the Dodgers and have these amount of things go right for you, and you still can't get enough done? That's, of course, what Pete Alonso swinging through high fastballs left and right. 3 of his strikeouts in that game were course because of that, but to see them bounce back between game 2 and now game 3, and we're going to deep dive the nitty gritty about these games. I mean, I'm just absolutely pumped. This is really the best that I could have went for the Mets right now. All tight games, every single one of them. Jacob deGrom just simply dominant. Brandon Nimmo with the catch of the year. And then, of course, here in game 3 tonight at the time of recording this for you guys, wherever you're listening or watching, for them to come out the way that they did to get those clutch hits, and Gavin Lux putting a nice little bow on the present that was this Mets win. He took the Mets win away from them in game 1, and he handed it right back here in game 3. So I'm really pumped up. The Mets continue to take advantage of teams' lack of fundies. Keith Hernandez was probably looking away with Haji somewhere. He couldn't stand it. I don't blame him, but I'm juiced up. I'm very happy being a Mets fan right now.
Rick, what about you, man? Watching this series, like, I think the biggest thing is, I don't want to sit here and act like we just won the World Series, right? I mean, the Mets are as good as any team in baseball. And, to be the best, you got to beat the best. It's just another game. This was taking care of business for the Mets. It wasn't like, oh, look what we just did. For other teams, this would be the peak of their season. For this Mets team, it's just another series victory in the books. But it obviously is a little more special. It is a little bit different. So what's your biggest takeaway from how they performed against the league's best?
Yeah, I think as a player, you certainly look at it. And Chris Bassett mentioned it after the game. Look, it's just another series. We won a series against a really good team, and that's great. And I think if it was the Braves, it might be different because that's in division. Fighting for the division, and your chance to be potentially one of those first 2 teams to get the bye through the wild card round. So that would make sense. But yeah, look, this is as a player, it's just another series. As a fan, yeah, this was a fun one to watch. I mean, people are anticipating these playoff matchups now, whether it is the Braves, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Cardinals look like a really good team right now. A lot of teams in the NL that look like they have a shot to make it to the World Series. So these are really fun series to watch and be a fan and be a part of it right now. I think for the Mets coming into this series, I thought, look, you go take care of business at home. You take 2 out of 3, you'll be happy. I leave this series. The Mets took 2 out of 3. I didn't see anything terribly, alarming in the series. I will say there were still some things that I thought the Mets could have and should have done much better. Tyler highlighted some of those. I thought the bullpen work in the first game. Obviously, Joely Rodriguez, I haven't been a fan all year. Look, it wasn't all his fault. There was a little bit of bad luck involved, but again, that's the way baseball goes. And you got to be able to pitch around those circumstances. I think game 2, you had your guy on the mound, Jacob deGrom. He went out there and dominated the way he does, gave up the home run to Mookie Betts. Otherwise, he was awesome as usual. If you're the Mets and you don't win that game, the fact that they only scored 2 runs, that kind of is, it's kind of one of those things where we won the game. We're okay. We're going to move on to the next game. Coming into game 3, Kershaw pitched fantastic. I mean, he was lights out. He only gave up the 1 run, obviously. And so to me, it was like, okay, the Mets got to battle. They got to battle. They didn't really put together the ABs that I wanted to see. But as Tyler highlighted, they got the break from Gavin Lux with him not fielding that ground ball, at least not properly, charging it, making a throw on Marte. Of course, Marte ends up being safe. And then Lindor, huge hit. I think that's the one thing that you could say about this Mets team that has been consistent over the course of the year. When teams make mistakes, when they give the Mets an inch, they take a mile. Every time, it seems like. And that's a mark of a really good winning baseball team, finding ways to win games rather than finding ways to lose games. Over the last couple of years, I had said it time and time again on TV. This team is finding ways to lose games. They're finding ways to lose games. This team this year is doing the exact opposite. That to me comes down to leadership. It comes down to leadership from Buck. It comes down to leadership from the coaching staff and from the top guys, within that clubhouse. It's a trickle down effect, and it's really something that you could see helping this team for the long haul. I mean, this is a team that's angling themselves to get to a World Series and potentially win a World Series. And that's the way you do it, by taking care of games like this, where you get an inch and you take it and you run with it and you don't look back. Now, with that being said, maybe we can get into this a little bit later, but I thought there were some instances in the back end of the game that kind of caught my attention as well.
Today, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Let's stick with it. You worried about Diaz a little bit?
It's not so okay. I'm glad you went there. Yes, and it's not. Look, this guy's been great all year, and you see it. His stuff is dominant. When his fastball is on, I think this guy's unhittable.
Yeah,
and I say that because his slider has been on every time he's out this year. The problem is when that fastball isn't on, we saw it early this outing. Ball 1, ball 2, right away, had to go to the slider. I'm watching the game going, sit slider. Because I think both ways. I think as a pitcher, I think as a catcher, I think as a the player, the guy up at the plate, offensive player. I think about the game, and so. But I saw, and that's been the consistent theme for him all season long. As soon as he doesn't have his fastball, slider, 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 slider. So to me, there's gonna be, and there has to be by now, I would think, a good book out there on Diaz. If he comes out and throws a couple erratic fastballs, sit slider. Now, we saw him gather himself back and end up K-ing Lux on the hardest pitch he's ever thrown in his career. So good for him on being able to make that adjustment and finding it again. But in big situations, if he does lose it, even if it's just for 1, 2, 3 pitches, a guy sits slider and they don't miss, because you saw some of those back up. And Justin Turner hit that ball really well to center field. The one to right center, look, maybe Muncy, maybe could have been a home run, maybe not. The wind was blowing a little bit. I don't know. I thought he got it okay. But the one to Turner, I thought he smacked that ball. I really did. I thought that ball was out of here, and it didn't get out, just probably because it was high enough. And at Citi Field, sometimes that wind, it'll blow out at the plate, but as soon as it gets to the outfield, it comes off those stands and it blows it right back in, right back down.
Breeze, right?
It's unbelievable. I mean, I hated hitting the ball to center field. It's a dead zone out there some nights, and tonight it was. So it's not. I'm not trying to sound alarm bells. I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. Like, you took 2 out of 3. Great job. Sometimes you need those. Sometimes you need to get a little luck on your side. That happens. But I am worried about that come playoff time, because I know come playoff time, teams have a much different way of going about game planning. And they will know when it gets down to a big situation and Diaz is on the mound and it's a 1-run game or 2-run game, if he can't find that fastball, even for 1 or 2 pitches, boom, sit slider. Bad things could happen really quickly. unless that slider is perfect, which even when his slider is great, it's never always going to be perfect as a hitter. We know that, like, pitchers make mistakes, regardless. It doesn't matter. Even Jake makes
did
mistakes
last night to
every day.
Mookie.
Exactly. So the thing is, I'm just scared about that. And then once you get outside of Diaz, we saw it. I mean, I don't want to say we saw it again tonight. Ottavino was really good in the ninth. I'll give him credit because I like to rag on him. Yep, he was. And before that, I thought they could have stuck with Diaz, or maybe not brought him in the eighth, to be honest with you, because of the situation. They ended up going up by 3. You weren't sure what they were going to do. Are they going to send it back out for the ninth? It's at 2 runs, and then they end up going with somebody else. I thought that was a little bit confusing. But I really, it's just little things. Like, the offense is a little bit heavily reliant on Pete, and when he's not going, I just don't see the runs being scored the way that I would like them to be seen. And yeah, I mean, in the back end, Diaz is so good that when the fastball's on, that fastball slider combo is almost unhittable. And it's just when it's not, I could see that biting them at times. So the fact that they don't have any other back end option or anyone else to go to right now scares me.
Yeah, so there's a lot to unpack there. And T, I'm going to share the floor with you on this one. My first reaction when you talk about Diaz, if the fastball is not spotting and if he needs to go to that slider, I'm thinking of guys you're going to be playing in October, right? You're not playing the Nationals in October. You're playing guys like Paul Goldschmidt. Well, he can hit a slider. Even if it's 92, Goldie can sit on it and he can rake. You're going up against Mookie Betts. Jake made a mistake on his slider last night. It was still 93. Still one of the fastest sliders in baseball.
Right down the pipe,
but
though.
it was dick down the middle, and Mookie Betts turned back to Nito and said, hey, I'll take care of this one for you. I mean, when you're going up against the best hitters in baseball, it doesn't matter if you've got electric stuff, right? Eventually, may not be every mistake you make, but eventually you're going to make a mistake and you're going to pay for it. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. And if you've been paying attention out there to Diaz the past week and a half, going back to that Sunday against the Phillies when the Mets won that shootout, and then the Rockies, Diaz, he may not be giving up runs every time he's out there. And look, guy's given up 2 runs in the last week and a half. He's only given up 2 runs since June 18th. It's remarkable what he's done. But all of a sudden, Colorado was putting the bat on the ball a little bit. He's all of a sudden not striking 2 out of 3 guys out every time he steps out there anymore. So teams are starting to make a little contact, put a little wood on Diaz. Sooner or later, especially with how hard he throws, we see it with Jake. Jake's giving up homers. When you throw that hard, sooner or later, it's going to come back to bite you. Luckily, it hasn't yet. Phillies, it gave up 1. It was a 2-run lead. Today gave up 1. It was a 3-run lead. But I'm with you. There's definitely, I don't want to say there's something wrong, but he's coming back down to earth a little bit. Tyler,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's the same way that we view Jacob deGrom, right? Because when Jake has his stuff, there's no denying he's quite literally the best pitcher in baseball. But what we have seen, and I'm going to go with a comparison here, Jake, he's given up 3 home runs so far this season, right? They're all in the 6th inning to that first batter that he faces. And it feels like almost all of them have been from that hanging slider. And you saw the same exact thing here with Diaz with the deep fly balls he was giving up, hanging slider. This is something that he, again, not that it's going to be a struggle or something to really be concerned with, but as you do get down the stretch into October, there's going to be such little margin for error there that everyone's going to be locked in every single pitch. It's not going to feel nearly the same that is right now. As great as Edwin was coming in for Timmy Trumpet himself live performing in game 2, that was electric. He shut the door, made Trey Turner look absolutely silly with his slider. He just did phenomenal, but especially here in game 3, yes, looked a little bit more human, and that's something that, thankfully, at least down this stretch here, they won't have to really be worried of. I'm curious to even see how much Edwin gets out there with the next stretch of Mets games that they have that we'll get into later. The next 16 games are against all teams well below 500. So how many times are we going to see Edwin pitching out there, right? I'm sure they're going to have him out there regardless. But yeah, to your point, Diaz is someone that's been phenomenal all year long. He's due for a big payday. Steve Cohen even said it himself. He had him for dinner not long ago as a guy he would like to keep. And it's going to be interesting to see come the offseason, but especially playoff time, what is the status of Edwin Diaz and his type of impact. But I do want to mention something that is important, and then we'll go to you, Rec. And that was from this game 3. And no, it wasn't just Adam Ottavino being nasty in the 9th. That was great to see. It wasn't Edwin still, even though he didn't have his best stuff, keeping the Mets in this ball game. For me, it was a pleasant surprise in Trevor May. And I think Trevor May just casually had probably his best outing as a Met so far this year. Being a Bulldog, had a walk, you saw that, but got 2 strikeouts, big strikeouts on those big Dodger hitters. He, in my opinion, was probably one of, if not the biggest positive bullpen wise that we saw this entire series. And hopefully that's a big confidence boost for him as we now start to face these lesser opponents in the month of September. But going back to you, Rec, what did you have to say?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll get to Trevor May in a second, but you brought up Edwin Diaz, and you brought up the fact that he went to dinner with Steve Cohen, or Steve Cohen had him for dinner, I should say.
Yes.
I really look. This is off topic a little bit, but this is something I've thought about a little bit. What does a dinner with a $16 billion man like? What does that look like? I mean, I know with Lindor, it was what was it, lasagna or ravioli? I don't remember, something like that. But like, what is that? Like, I picture them sitting at this, like, one of those tables that's
long,
50 feet long, you know, and like
Just
one's on one
opposite
side,
ends.
one's on
like
the
Mr.
other.
and
Like,
Mrs. Smith. That's what I'm
yeah,
thinking.
like,
Yeah, right.
I want to know what those dinners are like. Like, we need to get a camera in there and see what this is like. Steve, if you're listening to this, you need to invite the three of us to dinner at one of those. I don't care when it is. I just want to see what it's like. You don't have to feed me. I eat a lot. You don't want to have to pay that bill. I know you got a lot of money. You don't have to pay it, but I do. I just want to see it. I want to know what those are about. What do you guys think? Like, what are they having? What's Edwin Diaz having at that dinner?
It's got.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's. I'm hoping there's some plantanos in there. I don't know if
Yeah.
Cohen wants to make him feel at home, a little Puerto Rican cuisine. I mean, I
mean,
love that island food. It's, oh my god, I go nuts for that stuff.
Fantastic.
And then you get Lindor, and I guess Lindor also from Puerto Rico. He's been eating plantanos his whole life. Goes to Cohen's, he wants some New York ravioli. I mean,
He wants
said
some Italian, baby.
That was
Yeah.
like dinner at my grandma's house.
They all turn Italian eventually. I mean, come on.
I feel like
the Jewish New Yorker and the Puerto Rican baseball player eating ravioli.
I feel like we got it. I feel like Steve probably has like the best chef imaginable hired from NYC that's at his place. They of course have like upwards of like 15 workers just to hand out the food to whoever's there for like every course of 4 or 5 courses, whatever it may be. It's the whole 9 yards. Like I truly can only imagine. Or maybe Steve is trying to be more on the level of the people that he's inviting per se, and being a little bit more humble, things more simple. I don't know, but what I do know is that
I don't want simple if I'm going to a billionaire's house.
No, I agree. I agree.
Especially when you're already worth millions anyway. Like,
yeah.
We're talking about Lindor, who was signing a $340 million deal, and Diaz, who's about to get paid, and I don't even know what he's making this year, like 12, 15 million as a closer. Like,
I think he's at 10, but he's going to sign a deal for north of 100 mil. We're talking 9 figures on his
10 million before you hit free agency as a closer is a lot. And so yeah, he's about to sign a big one.
So, Rec, if you were invited, what are you requesting? If Cohen says, "Hey, I'm having you over, tell me what you want, give me a couple of options." What is a dinner at the Owners with Anthony Recker looking like?
Oh, I want options. I want some of the best.
Give me a protein. Give me a pot. Like,
I want some of the best raw fish sushi I have ever had in my life.
Ooh.
And that's going to be tough to do because when I was in Japan, we played in the opening series in 2012, Oakland, Seattle, and we had literally a tuna caught earlier that day on the table. And they were dicing it up with the swords and everything and handing it out on plates. And it was like, you would put this in the tuna belly, you'd put it in your mouth and it would just melt. Like, it was just gone. It was amazing. So good. But anyway, that would be so much fun. Like I would definitely want like some kind of an amazing sushi, whatever the freshest thing you can find. I don't care. It's not from this area, somewhere at Maine, I don't know, somewhere else, somewhere in the Pacific. I don't know where it's from, but somewhere else. God, what else would I want? I would want some exotic. I'm a big I'm a hunter, so I would want some. I've been into antelope lately. My father-in-law is a hunter. He goes on some hunts in Montana and Utah, and so he comes back with all kinds of delicious things to eat, and I'm all about it. So yeah, I mean, I would try to just be exotic with it, like things I've obviously never tried in my life. I wouldn't want what I've had. I wouldn't want to try the best chicken parmesan. I want something I've never had, and that's I don't know. I get a little bit excited when I talk about food and trying new things. That's my thing. That's just what I like to do.
We're all Italian. We all get excited when we talk about food.
Yeah.
I did not peg you for a hunter. That's funny. My stepdad is a huge hunter. We've got 108 acres in upstate New York. So this is
my stepdad is the one who got me involved.
There we go. So this is the open invitation to come to our property, and we'll have a Bleav in Queens hunting outing.
I've hunted before. There you go.
I don't trust him with a gun.
Yeah,
I don't trust him with a gun.
No.
No.
A loaded 30
We're not
going
going to
more
go
than
on this
Tyler.
tangent right now, but yes, I have experience. We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
So-
I promise. I won't have the height, so I'll definitely be a guy you want down low. But yeah,
We're gonna. You can sniff out the birds for us.
Does that mean we get to put him on a leash? Do we get to put T on a leash?
oh, you fucking
man.
No, we gotta let him run. He's gotta go chase him, and then
Oh my
just
God.
after we shoot him, he's gotta grab him and bring him back to us.
What do you smell, boy? You smell something, boy?
Oh my God, you guys are relentless. You hear that? You see this on YouTube right now,
Oh,
folks? See
man.
what I deal with?
Oh man.
Jesus.
Oh my gosh. I'm
That's
glad this
amazing.
finally made it to the show. I'm glad this energy finally made it to the show.
Right?
Anyway, so we're gonna get back to Trevor May because we need to be serious.
Oh, we need to get back to the
serious.
series as well. So yes.
Unbelievable. No, but I was going to ask about that dinner. How much of an impact do you think that has? I mean, Rec, tell it how it is. Did the Wilpons ever do stuff like this?
Honestly,
That you know of?
the only thing I know of, I don't know of a whole lot because I was never invited to anything. Anyway, I know that they did things like this. I don't know that it was, I don't know where that dinner with Cohen was. Was it at his house? Do you know? Or I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if they ever did anything like that. I know I'd heard that they take guys out sometimes. I know when I was actually with Atlanta in 2016, I went to my favorite steakhouse. The Mets were in town. So I went to my favorite steakhouse there with Eric Campbell because he was on the team with the Mets at the time. Bones Steakhouse in Atlanta, Georgia. If you ever are in Atlanta, guys, it's not even, it's great because it's not even like the most expensive steakhouse you've ever been to. It's expensive, but it's not like one of those. It's not like the top shelf where you're paying $300 for a steak or something ridiculous. But the service there and the food and the atmosphere, like everything, it's so good. It's so much fun. Anyway, Bones, if you're listening, you're probably not. You're in Atlanta. Have me up for a free meal sometime.
There you go.
But
that's a lot of publicity.
I was there, and with Soup, we're sitting at the bar, get our dinner. We're eating our steaks, and not Fred, Jeff walks in with Travis d'Arnaud, and so I've seen these kinds of things happen before, and it happens, and it's something that it makes you. It's going that extra step to have a relationship with someone, talk to someone, be on a level with someone. I think in some regards, I don't think this is the case in Steve Cohen's regard, but I think in some regards, it's almost a way to try to feel like you get on a level term. So maybe you can get a player to accept a lesser deal type of thing, right? Like the friendship type, and I'm not saying it's anything wrong with that.
Sounds like
It's
something
part
the
of it.
Wilpons would do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's something any good businessman would do something like that. It's legitimate. But what I'm saying with Steve is, I think the way he's done this, and he's made these kind of public, right? Like you didn't used to hear about this stuff with anybody else. You did. I mean, you guys probably never heard that Wilpon took d'Arnaud to Bone Steakhouse. So I think there's a reason for that. I think it's to make sure that the players understand, and the players, not just here in New York, but the players, Major League Baseball knows that if you come to New York and you perform, I'm going to treat you really well. I'm going to go the extra mile for you. I'm going to pay you a lot of money. You're going to fly in a great. I haven't asked any of the players. I should ask the players about what they're flying in, because when we used to fly, it was just a straight up 737 Delta plane with 3 seats in each aisle. It wasn't anything great. When I was with the A's, it was unbelievable. When I was with the Braves, it was unbelievable. Cubs and Mets, meh. It was a plane. It's fine. You get to fly just with the team. It's great.
You expect better in the MLB.
I had seen better, so I didn't really expect better, but I had seen better with the A's. Come on.
Which that's shocking in and of itself.
Exactly. So there's teams that go the extra mile, that do extra things. And those little things to me add up. Players talk. I remember talking to Jeff Francoeur one day in the dugout, and he's telling me how great Philly is. And I didn't want to play for Philly. I never wanted to be a Philly. I never wanted to go to Philly, play Philly, be a Philly. He said how awesome they are to people's families and how well they treat their players. And like, I was like, wow, like he really sold that organization. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that's how players talk to each other. So if other guys around the league are hearing things like that about the Mets, even if it's not necessarily coming from a player all the time, but it gets them to ask questions, yeah, that can bring people in. When you get a Scherzer to come in, that helps. And then you get Lindor here, big contract. He's treating Diaz the right way. Like that's the kind of stuff that reverberates. And yeah, it can come back to you in the long run for sure as an organization.
Jeff Francoeur, by the way, blast from the past. First ball I ever caught in batting practice was April 23rd, 2010. A Frenchie liner down the left.
Wow, and you know the date and everything. Look at you.
Because it was 2010, my dad's first year working for the Mets.
Okay.
And it was his birthday. It was the first time I went to a game when he was working there. So that's
Easy
how
one.
I had that. But
Easy
I've caught over 100 from getting to games early because I'd go in with him on his drive to work. I'd be there for BP.
Mm-hmm.
Frenchie was my first. T, talking Trevor May, because I know that's what you really want to do. for the first time.
It's not like we only have a big series breakdown. Let's get into it, okay?
Talking Trevor May.
This is way more fun. Come on.
I know. I mean, I'd much rather fantasize about a menu.
There's nothing that I would want more than to get ragged on for an hour
I'm
straight.
eating eggs for dinner 4 nights a week. I'd much rather fantasize about a menu at Steve Cohen's house. T, was this enough? It was a great performance. Is this enough for you to trust him in maybe the same exact situation against the Dodgers, but in October?
No, not at all. I'm taking this exact same route that Chris Bassett.
You built up this question before you asked me, and then
no.
Yeah, he's like, guys, stop talking about the best sushi you ever ate. I want to talk Trevor May, and then he's like, nah, fuck him. I still.
He's a bum.
Just because Trevor May had one good outing against the Dodgers does not change the fact that we have to all be under this Chris Bassett mindset, as you alluded to earlier, Rec, by saying that, yeah, it's just another game. It's another series. This is nothing what playoffs are going to be. I want Trev to succeed, and I think there would be nothing better than to have him succeed come playoff time. If he can do that, then phenomenal. The Mets have depth in this bullpen. But right now, God, no. I mean, I have such little trust in this bullpen as is, if you're not named Edwin Diaz. And I am one of those guys. I'm more on the favorable side versus you, Rec, with Adam Ottavino. I trust Adam, and I do think he's going to be big for the Mets down the stretch. But outside of that, if I'm being completely honest right now, the guy that I might trust the most is the guy that isn't even pitching for the Mets right now, and that's Tylor Megill. And Tylor Megill we'll get into later in the show. He's an arm that I'm very excited to see what he's going to bring in the pen. But for the most part, no.
You give his double A report now. I already see your pants starting to rise a little bit. So
okay, all right.
Get into Megill right now.
All right. Shout out, Julie.
We know how you feel about Tylor Megill.
Yeah, yes. Tylor Megill, for those that don't know, pitched in Double A tonight. 6th inning, 1 inning, struck out the side. Great start to his rehab assignment. And he will be back with the Mets after, I believe, 4 or 5 rehab outings of pitching 1 or 2 innings, however long they want to stretch him before he returns to the bullpen. But I think we're getting on a tangent now. I do want to emphasize a little bit more on this Dodgers series, if that's okay with you guys, because there were some big moments. And I especially want to talk about, we don't need to talk about game 1 much anymore. It was a tough loss for the Mets. Game 2, however, Jacob deGrom, 9 strikeouts, going 7 strong, right? Starling Marte, huge series for him, home runs in back-to-back games. Marte has consistently been hot for the most part, while you've seen guys like Pete Alonso and even Lindor up until this series falter. Lindor had a big series as well. But going to you, Rec, what was your raw reaction to see Brandon Nimmo with the catch of the year for the Mets? I mean, talk about finally giving something back to Jacob deGrom for a change. I was losing my mind. I was voice cracking as ever, as if I'm going through puberty again. You guys probably think I'm going through it right now. But again, going back to you, Rec, what was your takeaway from that Brandon Nimmo home run?
To be honest with you, it didn't surprise me. I've seen this coming, and this guy keeps getting better and better and better. I was doing a game, was it last year? I think it was Pittsburgh against the Mets. It might have been, I know it was at Citi Field. It might have been right after the All-Star break, and he made a really nice, similar catch. I think it was towards left center instead of towards right center against the Pirates. But this guy's been getting so much better. I love him playing deep and coming in on balls. And when he plays deep, he can do stuff like this because he can get to the wall, and he's got really good instincts around the wall. If you've ever watched him, he actually does a really nice job around the wall when he's there. It was an incredible catch, though. I mean, just phenomenal athletic play. And this is something that, like I said, we've seen from Brandon coming, and to me, I'm playing with him. I played with him in 2000. I don't even remember 15. I think I was in AAA for a little while. He was there, and this kid is so athletic. He's so fast. He had all the tools. It was literally just giving him the time, and I kept telling people and saying it like, just give him time. He's fine. I know it doesn't always look the best, but they finally came up with a game plan for him instead of saying, hey, play shallow and then run back. He just wasn't comfortable with that. He wasn't comfortable with that. So, because a lot of the best center fielders in the game do play shallow. They play shallow and they go back on the ball well. Well, look, it's okay to play deep and come in on a ball and then be able to, make plays out deep because you're already there. You don't got to worry about turning back and, hauling ass and trying to make a play. So to me, I've seen this coming. I love it. For him to take that one away from DeGrom, and I'll also tell you this, it actually reminded me of a catch that Mets fans aren't going to like. I was a Brave at the time. Ender Inciarte in 2016.
Oh,
that ball off of Cespedes. I was catching. Like, he hit that ball off of Johnson, and I'm just we knew not to throw. We didn't want to throw him a breaking ball. We were like, we're not going to do it, not going to do it, not going to do it. The at-bat led itself to, okay, we got to throw him a breaking ball right here. Like, it was just like we had to. And he unloads on it to center, and I just hung my head immediately. I'm like, oh, gosh, okay. I just came back to Citi Field and gave up the game. Like, I'm so mad. And Ender made that catch, and I was like, oh, my. But that's what it was almost identical. I mean, almost the same spot in the field, the same athletic jump, like over the fence. And, I mean, that one happened to be in the ninth inning to end the game, but it had just as big an impact on the game, obviously. To keep that run from, that home run going over the fence, it was incredible. And Brandon Nimmo, there's nothing this kid can do that really would surprise me because he's capable of anything out there on the baseball field.
You know what's wild about that Inciarte catch? That's a catch, and it's a regular season game, right? That was a September game down the stretch, 16. Yep. That's a regular season moment that I remember where I was and what I was doing when that catch was made. Because I was in the weight room in college. And I was running on the treadmill with the game.
I see you dropping that one. I see it. Yeah, I was.
Running
I
on the treadmill.
Which way's the weight room, guys? Which way?
That way, right? Oh yeah. Yeah, the 6'4", 180 guy with the bodybuilder in the same StreamYard chat. I'm dropping that one. But I was running on the treadmill, and I almost hurt myself when he made that catch. Because I'm running and I see the ball go over the fence and I jumped up, and while I'm in the air, I'm like, oh shit. And I come down with my feet on the sides. I'm like, I gotta catch myself. I'm on the fucking treadmill right now. Oh, that catch broke my heart. I mean, look, they made the playoffs, all was, good and well, but that was a phenomenal catch. And I know the exact play you're talking about. Yep. That Nimmo catch was, and I said this earlier, I said this yesterday on Serralo Sports Talk. For me, that was shades of Endy Chavez.
The man on the wall behind me. We got his signed photo right there.
Yeah, it was that catch was up there with that, and with the play that we've discussed on this show before, even though it wasn't a home run robbery, just in terms of a humongous catch, Granderson in the wild card game in 16.
Yep.
Now when I think of the three most memorable catches in my Mets fandom, it's Endy, it's Grandy, and it's Nimmo, even though it was a regular season game, because these games were playoff atmospheres. And
DeGrom was on the mound. Like, I mean, it was an intense game, and that was an unbelievable
to see Jake with the amount of emotion of joy in his face.
Never see it.
That was never see. For once, I felt like the best pitcher in baseball. We were sharing the same raw reaction. Like, everyone had their hands up. The sold out crowd. We were all going through the waves of emotions together. That was a really cool feeling.
Have you ever seen Nimmo?
I know Nimmo was juiced up. Yeah. He was ready to go.
Yeah.
He was. Have you ever seen him like that, Rick?
I have. Nimmo is that guy that, like, I was the same way. When I'm out there on the field, I'm consciously not I shouldn't say consciously, but like if I do something really good, there's obviously a part of me that wants to freak out. But there was always that part of me that was like, no, you've been here before. Like, act like you've been here before. And it wasn't for any other reason other than I wanted to kind of I don't know what's the word that people are using. I don't know. I wanted to harbor like those, like, this is who I am. I do things like this. And I wanted that to be more of like a regular thing, not like, oh my God, this idiot hit a home run, which is probably what most people are thinking. Not putting up a front, but like, you believe it and then it kind of becomes reality. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think it was more of that. And that's just how I was taught to play the game anyway. Like all sports, I did flip a few bats. But
Is that
I
self-fulfilling prophecy? Something like that?
basically,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
score a touchdown, hand the ball to the referee, the Barry Sanders. You know what I mean? Like that's just how I
Yes.
was raised.
Yeah, great.
And
great
so
point.
and so that's that Brandon Nimmo is cut from the same cloth. So to see him have that reaction, like that's an overwhelming raw reaction. That's fun. I have seen him get excited before, but that was pretty darn special to see him get like that.
Yeah, I mean, I have not seen that before. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, if it was at the major league level or minor league level behind the
Minor leagues,
scenes.
yeah.
Okay, because I have never, I don't think any Met fan
Yeah,
watching
neither
this
have I.
team has ever seen Nimmo like that. And that, for me, is what made it so freaking cool. Because it was just like, he's the best at acting like he's been there before. I mean, he is the humble, head down, blue collar. Oh, ball 4, sprint to first base. You know, we talk about it all the time with him. But that was like, yeah, I just did that moment. But not in a cocky way, just in a, you know, I mean,
Excited,
sports,
little
you
kid.
get it. Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
You get it. It was, that was just phenomenal. That whole game was phenomenal. Let's talk Timmy Trumpets for a hot second. This to me was a move that Met teams in past years, if they had pulled a publicity stunt like that, or I don't even want to call it a publicity stunt, but I mean, you know, it was a spectacle. It was an entertainment factor. It would have blown up in our faces, right? It would have been Diaz gives up a 3-run nuke, blown save, game over. And what did Diaz come and do after that? I mean, he came in, Trey Turner, 3 pitches, see you later, just mowed him down. Does that happening? The spectacle, Trumpets playing on the field, Diaz coming in and pitching the way he did. Does that give you a feel, Tyler? I guess we'll start with you on this one. That all right, this is an entirely different team and different season.
Yeah, we've just seen so many different examples of why this Mets team is different. And this was even a good example too, because it was either going to go great or terribly wrong. Like there were all Mets fan hater just chomping at the bit for this to be okay. Timmy comes out with the Trumpets and then Diaz blows his first save in a while. Like it was all there. It was all there. But thankfully, Edwin was as locked in as ever. And that's why we love this man. Best reliever in baseball, in my opinion. And yeah, this is very much a different team. And it's so different to the point where it wouldn't even surprise me if this isn't the last we saw from Timmy this year, maybe in the regular season, but we could see him again come October. And I wouldn't be surprised if Edwin did the exact same thing he did in that outing against the Dodgers in game 2. This is a different team, 100%.
I'm for it. Rec, does the way that worked out in the Mets' favor, does that show you that this team is different? And do you want to see Timmy back in October?
It doesn't show me that this team is different, but it does. It gives me excitement because when you can go out there knowing that this guy's here to play that song for you and then dominate, I think that tells me a little bit about Edwin Diaz. And come the postseason, like, I mean, this dude can show up. He can show up in the big spots. Like we saw him in 19, obviously not have the season he wanted to have. And a lot of people have still had nightmares, I guess, about that season, and they still have had a hard time trusting him, even through his domination over the last. I'm not even going to say this year, the last 3 years. I mean, this guy's been great, and yeah, to me, like, I mean, it showed a little chutzpah. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, this guy went out there and he was like, "Yeah,
language.
I got him."
Oh, I'm glad that we're on this topic.
I saw the pen. Go ahead, Tyler.
I'm glad we're on this topic because the segment that you're famously on, Off Base, had Blaster Jacks on tonight, and they were asked the question, what's their thoughts on Edwin Diaz not being the only player with that song? As we know, William Contreras for the Braves also comes out of that song, and they replied by saying, that's Edwin's song. Like, it should only be Edwin's song.
Only one guy.
He should have a different song. You know, everyone
wouldn't it be
should have their own.
interesting if they were back in Citi Field for a Braves series in the playoffs?
Ooh. I mean, it would be tough for Atlanta. I mean, likely would have to go through LA first, but that would be fun. But Tyler, come on, we got to break down Trevor May. Stop talking about music. Come on, Tyler.
Well, we should be breaking down.
You went all hall monitor on our ass.
I had to. I had to. I was pumped for Trev, but I wasn't pumped that much to be committed to him come playoff time.
Yeah, no, you don't trust him yet, but you were pumped for him. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, I just met this great girl. I won't date her, but she's great. Look, games 2 and 3 were awesome. Game 1 could have been awesome. We could have just as easily been looking at a sweep as we were looking at winning 2 out of 3. I guess the same could be said. A couple things go the other way. Dodgers could be looking at winning the series. But Ty Walker had a good, I thought, good performance. Went 6 innings, 3 runs. I mean, it's considered a quality start, even though I've always said a 4.5 ERA shouldn't be quality start. But 6 innings, 3 runs, really just had one bad inning that got him in trouble. He's had an ERA over 6 since the All-Star break. So, Rec, I'm going to start with you on this one. Are you concerned about Ty? That 6 ERA is inflated by, obviously the Braves start. He hasn't looked as bad as his second half last year. So maybe not are you concerned, but what's the level of concern, if any?
I was going to bring up the one bad start because to me, I'm not overly concerned, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because when it comes to playoff time, if this is still something that's an issue of any kind, the Mets are going to have the arms available to them that they're not going to need to push him to 6. Because with Ty, you can tell early on when it's not on, when it's not right. He'll walk a couple guys early. He'll give up a couple hard hit balls. You know when the game starts. Okay, yeah, he doesn't look like he has it tonight. Bucks, come on, Bucks watches every little detail of these games. He knows right away. And when that happens, right now it's okay. Let's see if we can get him through 5 or 6. Let's see if we can save the bullpen a little bit. And tied to his credit, like you said, a quality start. Maybe it shouldn't be 6-3, but you know what? He went 6 innings. That's a huge deal in baseball. Baseball doesn't run on a clock. Baseball runs on innings. When you eat innings, it's a big deal. They pay pitchers guys who literally have no reason to be big leaguers, who have 4.5 career ERAs. They pay them $10 million a year at times because they can go out and eat innings. They literally, there's a whole name for it. So I'm not calling Ty that, but I'm saying eating innings is a big deal. And so when he's able to do that, it's huge. When it comes playoff time, you've got DeGrom, you've got Scherzer. Bassett is looking phenomenal. You could talk about whether it's Peterson or McGill are going to be maybe coming out of the bullpen. Carrasco is back. When you get this whole 7 guys healthy again, hopefully they are come October, you're not going to have an issue with innings. You're talking about basically a 4-man rotation. If you're involved in one of those series where you end up, playing 5 games in a row because there's no day off in the middle there, great, to be honest with you, because you have such because you have so many good starters and arms now coming out of the bullpen. You can handle that no problem. And to me, that was the one thing people hated the 2020 season. I get that, but the postseason, because there were no off days, I loved it. The best team was gonna win. Depth was gonna win. This team has some depth. They've got the starting pitching and depth right now. Is the bullpen maybe an issue here and there? Yes, but when it comes to playoff time, like I said, you're adding 2 more arms potentially to that bullpen, maybe 3 if you're only going to the 4-man rotation. So I think they're going to be fine. And no, it doesn't concern me at all that Ty's going through this. He went through it last year, that he was coming off. He hadn't thrown that many innings in 3 years. Yes. So to me, he's still just kind of getting his legs under him, but he's going to be able to make adjustments. And the fact that he went out and went 6-3 against the Dodgers lineup, he's good. He's fine.
I'm with you. Tyler, are you with us, or a little disagreement? Are you a little more worried about Ty?
I got nothing to add. Literally zero to add. Yeah, 100% agree.
So last Dodgers thing that I want to address, and we've noticed lately, obviously the Mets offense has struggled a bit specifically, and they went through that hot stretch right after the trade deadline, but the DH position is back to slumping big time. Darren Ruff, Vogie, Naquin, lately they haven't been getting the job done. We saw, I Bleav it was a pinch hit spot game 1. And this is another reason that this Mets team feels different to me. You could have had first and second, no outs. And Vogie, he's known for his eye, statistically second best eye, only behind Juan Soto, takes a 3-2 pitch that was not up in the zone, up above the zone, would have been ball 4, grounds into a double play. Totally just kills the momentum against the guy who, in Jake Reed, I think is just so damn hittable that the Mets could have easily tattooed one on him. How concerned are you about the DH position? All 3 guys seem to be slumping at once. That never helps. But is there a real worry about this position? You got guys, your 5 hitters, Vogie and Ruff, depending on the matchup. And I think they're collectively 1 for their last 30-something.
It really varies for me because it's almost like it's not necessarily just a position, but I am more of a gripe personally with Bucks lineups. That's what I'm currently not happy with because we look at Alonso, not that he's been at DH often, but he's someone that really has been in a rut now for 3+ weeks, not being consistent with his at bats. Then you have the DH position. Daniel Vogelback's been a little bit of a slump. Darren Ruff, while he got more playing time in this series, yes, he got that nice RBI sac fly. He's been playing rough, rather, no pun intended. So I look at these
Yes, it
guys.
was. That was
Yeah,
so
I
intended.
I know. It's not. I always have to say it, no matter
We
if it's
should
true or
edit this
not.
and just put
It's
the
like
dog
automatic.
emoji over your face for that line. I
Oh
mean,
my god, this is just ragging the Wardy show. It's fine. Might as well continue with the content here. But point is that you look at Jeff McNeil and how great he's been playing. You look at Mark Canha, how great he's been playing. We discussed this last episode, I'm pretty sure, but that is something that I want to see first and foremost is changing the lineup a little bit, moving McNeil up and moving the DH spot down. Now, when evaluating DHs themselves, that I have a gripe as well, where you have guys that are far better, say against lefties or righties, but something that you need to be important with deep diving these numbers, especially with a guy like Ruff, is that when the Mets acquired him, yes, he has great numbers against lefties, but if you actually deep dive his splits further this year, he's far greater against lefty relievers than he is starters. And then when you look at his matchup here in this Dodgers series in particular, the guy, again, not that we have to base everything on previous success or lack thereof, was hitting 100 in his career in a good amount of play appearances against Clayton Kershaw. Now, I know that Kersh carved up everyone and their mother, not just Ruff today, through 5. But point is that this was a guy that wasn't a big spot in the first inning when he had bases loaded and wasn't able to get the job done. And then the same thing can be said in moments that we've seen with Daniel Vogelback, like in game 1. I know that still bothers you, Joe, that he swung at a pitch that was out of the zone. Should have took his walks like usual. He's been dealing with a little bit of a hammy issue. That's why in game 3, when he got the walk, of course, you saw Terrence Gore make his Mets debut as a pinch runner and steal a bag. That was nice to see. He's a 3-time World Series champ for a reason, right?
Score World Series confirmed.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
picks him up in August.
So for me, I'm not awfully concerned with the DH position, especially with what the final month schedule-wise has for the New York Mets. However, when you look at how they expanded the rosters, this is where I personally have a gripe because there's this guy named Mark Vientos that's done anything and everything possible to be on this Mets team. Yes, his defensive lack of versatility is the reason why he's not up here, but I just don't understand how it can hurt the Mets having Vientos basically in a rough type spot right now in a limited position, maybe more against lefties and righties. How is that going to hurt you with potential upside there when instead they bring up infielder Devin Marrero, who's going to get little to no playing time as is? He's just a stopgap until Gourmet returns. Gourmet is starting his rehab assignment this Sunday, by the way, for Mets fans that aren't aware. So he will be getting back sooner than later. But the point is that at this juncture, how much is it going to hurt you by bringing up a top bat like him and see what you have, especially while Ruff has been underwhelming to say the least thus far in his Mets tenure, and Daniel Vogelback and Tyler Naquin having a red hot start, but have now settled down a bit and have come back down to earth that we've seen over these past couple of weeks. I just don't see the pain and the harm in doing something like this by bringing up a guy that has literally proven everything at the AAA level. There's nothing more for him to prove. It's not like if he's in a limited role with the Mets, it's going to drastically hurt his development. I think that's the farthest thing from it. So going to you, Rec, what's your opinion on that, especially? Because for me as a fan, most Mets fans have wanted Mark Vientos. We understand, and I think it almost comes down to not just the current status of the team, but there's a wide belief that the risk is that if you bring up Vientos and he doesn't do well, then that hurts his potential trade value come the offseason that fans have started to think about. So I want to know what your take is on all that.
Well, if we're going to talk about just Vientos and the roster makeup and even the lineup and the way that Buck has really been rigid with the lineup, there hasn't been a lot of switching things around. I know they're playing the matchups and trying to do that, which I want to get to that too. But that's one thing that I really struggle with as a player. I was always fine with the lineup with guys moving around. Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care how much of a star you are. If you're going through it, you're going through it. Move down in the lineup a little bit. Get somebody else some more ABs. If somebody else is hot, get them up there. Let them rake. Like, I've seen the Rays and the Twins and put the catcher hitting leadoff. Like, just because the matchup is right and they're swinging a hot bat. And, like, I love it when teams are free and just easy. Like, hey, yeah, we're going to move guys around. Look, I get it. Nimmo shouldn't move from the top spot. The guy gets on base. That's just what he does. Yeah. But I am saying there could be more movement in there. I mentioned this last episode or 2 episodes ago. McNeil can move up there behind Alonso. Canna can move up there behind McNeil.
I'd even argue moving Alonso down right now.
I'd be okay with that for now. I mean, look, you don't want to mess with a guy's psyche, and I think Alonso means so much to this lineup. That might be the one guy I might not move.
That's true.
There was a time last year. Where I was saying move Nimmo down in the lineup because he's the only one who can drive in runs. Why is he hitting leadoff still? Like, let somebody else lead off. Let him drive in runs because he's the only guy getting it done in those situations. There's times where you can move guys around in the lineup, and I wouldn't mind seeing that. Now I am going to get back to this. This is kind of with Ruff and Vogelbach. And Ruff's sac fly today was against a right-handed pitcher. This is one of the things I that bothers me about the strict platooning. As a hitter, yes, I think if you looked at my career, I was probably better against lefties. I don't know. Big leagues, or I'm talking about probably minor leagues because I didn't play enough in the big leagues to be good against anybody. But I'm guessing in the minor leagues, I was probably much better against lefties. I don't know. I know at one point someone told me that I was thought of that way. Like, oh, he can rake lefties and he's okay against righties, whatever. Like, so, but if I went out there and just saw lefties, like, first of all, that'll get in my head. Like, okay, apparently I can't hit righties. All right, I better hit well against these lefties or God, I'm screwed. Like, so that can quickly become something bad. And you just want to see the ball from the other side sometimes. It's natural when you're a guy who plays a little bit more often and you're used to seeing guys throwing from the right side sometimes, that can help you lock back in. Like when you talk about left on left and some guys struggle with that, well, the more they see it, the better they are. If you just throw them against righties all the time, like they're never going to get against lefties. And honestly, against righties, it's sometimes you're just not going to feel as comfortable. Like sometimes seeing that left on left, waiting on that heater to get deep and slapping it the other way, or letting that breaking ball actually, get deep and driving it up the middle. That's how you feel right. That's how you get right again. And so to only have him hitting against Ruff, hitting against lefties, and Vogelbach only hitting against righties, I just don't like that. Like I want to see more. And you get the occasional AB where they do it, but we saw was it Vogelbach get on deck for the lefty tonight, and there was a change. Okay, like if they bring in a lefty, we got Vogelbach. You know what I mean? So like, I'm sorry, if they bring in the righty, they got Vogelbach. So to me, it's just a little bit too much. It's too scripted. I want to see these guys have a little bit more freedom. And then come playoff time, after they've had a full season of, getting more matchups, favorable matchups, but not only favorable matchups, you go with it in the playoffs. And that I understand. Going with it every single time, I think it's too much. And I think it hurts the player, to be honest with you, which of course hurts the team.
And before we get to you, Joe, I just want to ask you, Rec, too, what's your take on Mark Vientos as well? Do you think that's the right decision right now to not have him on the roster? Or do you think it's something that at this juncture, how much worse can things get potentially? I feel like there's really only upside in my opinion.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with the way they went about adding the bats that they added, there's just no room for them. Like they made this bed. They made this bed of, okay, we don't have a lot of defensive versatility. And bringing him up, I don't know enough about Mark Vientos to say he's a terrible fielder or not. Obviously, the reports aren't very good. I haven't physically watched him enough, and I would never want to just say something because somebody else said it. But you hear those things, and so you have to know that the front office is probably saying, yeah, like, okay, we want to call you up. We want to give you this opportunity, but we can't, and it's our own fault. And that stinks. Like that's not as a player, that would be awful. Like to know, well, I didn't get called up because you made moves to these other guys, and that prevented you from being able to call me up despite the fact that you want to. I would think that's where this front office is right now. And so that's really disappointing. I would love to see this guy in a major league lineup getting opportunities. When you have the type of season that he's having, you've pushed the door. Like you've knocked on the door, you've knocked it down, and you're still not getting those opportunities. I don't care if you're 22. Like, I don't care how old you are. You deserve the chance. You need to be up here doing it at the highest level. And to be honest with you, this team needs some youth anyway. So I would love to see him up here. To me, it's unfortunate that he's not, for sure.
Now, I actually kind of understand. For me, at least, there's two reasons why Vientos is not a part of this team right now. By the way, Rec, really quickly too, the point you made about not just strictly scripting and platooning these guys, I agree with. I was watching a Vogelback interview a couple weeks ago, and they asked him, they were like, why why are your numbers so drastic? Like, do you not see the ball well coming out of lefties? And he's like, nah, I see it fine. He's like, I've just always kind of been groomed in the bigs to be such a platoon hitter that now when I face a lefty, it's just something that's like, I'm just so not used to it. But he's like, as far as like vision, like I see the ball the same way. It's like, I could hit lefties when I was younger. It's just in the bigs, they were like, we want you to be a righty killer. And, so that's a guy who I'd like to see get some lefty at bats. I don't think he can go up against the lefty who's throwing maybe 99, 100. I think he'd probably get it blown by him in those instances. But I think a guy like Kershaw, who's topping out at like 91, I think he's the kind of guy that Vogie should have gotten a few hacks at, sit on that breaking ball, hit that, if it's not moving, it's a batting practice fastball.
And Kershaw's a chase guy. And what does Vogelbach not do usually? I mean, I know he did it.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that would have been a great instance to see him. But a couple other things. So Vientos, I think there's two reasons he's not a part of this team right now.
I know why. Yeah.
September call-ups can't make the postseason roster. So what are you going to do? Bring Vientos up, even if he rakes in September. Maybe helps you win a game or two at the end of the day. You go into October, and all of a sudden he's not available. He can't be on the postseason roster, and that kind of throws the lineup into a funk. He takes at bats away from Darren Ruff, and then in October you're going up against the lefty, and it's like, hey, Darren, get in there, and the guy just had at bat taken away from him in September, and he's cold.
The thing I'll say is, and we saw Beatty basically go down a couple of days ago. They had an opportunity to maybe give Vientos that quick call up in August,
exactly,
just in case. And that's where I was a little bit confused. It was like that when they called up Marrero the first time, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. And it was like, wait, and I know Devin. I love Devin. He's an awesome guy. He's a great fielder. He can play anywhere on the field. Not a great hitter at all. But give Vientos just give him a call up so that at least you have that option. Like, what if Pete goes down? What if Pete just gives that? Like, do you really want Ruff over there? I would rather trust Vientos over there. Like, if he can play a okay third in the minor leagues, he can play good first base in the big leagues. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. I played first base in the big leagues. Like, this guy can play first base in the big leagues.
Played third base too.
Yeah. That's true. I got more games in the big leagues than third than Vientos. Look at that. Anyway, seriously, like, they should have just called them up just so they had another option. I mean, look, they can still call up guys like Perez because I think they need a third catcher. I think the fact that they haven't been pitch hitting for their catchers late in the game is bugging the heck out of me. I know McCann had a big double to left tonight, but my goodness, like, these guys haven't produced. You're going to need to pinch hit for them in the postseason. You're going to need a third catcher at some point. You can't just go with two. It just doesn't work that way. You're going to need a third catcher. Just do it. Do it now. Do it soon. Like, whenever the minor league season is over. Perez is coming back up, hopefully, and they'll have a third catcher. In my opinion, they should. Beside that, this team, just the way that I think they had such a great idea in the offseason and the way they tried to build this roster with versatility and the way that it's evolved, if you will, throughout the natural course of the season, whether it be injuries or guys getting traded away or underperformance or whatever it is. They've become, even though Dom and JD aren't here, which those two guys were like, oh, well, they're kind of DHs. Well, they have even less versatility now than they had when those guys were on the team. And it's really frustrating, to be honest with you, because I was a big fan of championing everything they did in the offseason, that versatility would come through for them in the long haul. And right now, they literally can't have any, and it's frustrating.
By the way, even less versatility, because we talk about Vientos not coming up in August, so they can't use him in the postseason. The guy who did come up in August is Terrence Gore, and he might be on that postseason roster strictly to be a pinch runner. So even less versatility as far as pinch hitting.
Yeah, he'll be like, whenever the minor league season is over, that's why they'll be able to call up Perez, because Gore can just go, like, stay in shape and he can come back and run in the postseason, right? Like, literally, Devin Marrero, love you, but Guillorme's coming back and you're going to, go somewhere and stay in shape. And if they need you for some reason, they can bring you back.
Well, so then that's my second and final reason as to why not call up Vientos, because also it's like, if you're going to call him up, Guillorme's coming back. And so what are you going to do? Call him up for a week, maybe get 2 games against lefties in, and then Guillorme comes back? Because we know Marrero is going to be gone when Guillorme comes back. So that would have been Vientos. So I think that's why they're like, if we're going to, why have him up for 2 games,
Because he's not, because you still have him. He can go back to the minor leagues, finish out the season.
Mhm.
Maybe somebody gets hurt when does the minor league season end this year? It ends later than usual, I think. I think it ends like September 15th or something like that. So you have 2 more weeks. Someone could get hurt. Anything could happen. And now, I mean, look, you could still call him up, but now you won't have him for the postseason if someone did get hurt and they weren't there for the postseason. Whereas had you done it earlier, you would have that opportunity to have him for the postseason, and he could, go back down and come back up later, and no big deal. Like, who cares if he goes back down? That happens. Like, guys who are really good in AAA and end up becoming everyday guys in the big leaguers in the big leagues and become all-stars, they're a taxi squad guy occasionally. Like, oh, we need a guy for a week in the big leagues. Okay, go back down. Like, that happens. That's okay. Who cares? Mark Vientos gets his first taste, and then he gets to come back up later. I think that would have been okay. I really do.
Well, we'll see. I mean, look, the playoffs, that ship has sailed. But, you never know. Like you said, injuries happen. God forbid. We still might see Vientos at some point. You never know. T, what's up?
I did want to mention, however, going from guys that won't be available come playoffs, let's pivot quick to guys that will be made available come playoffs, because as we know, last time we discussed, we were waiting to find out the significance, unfortunately, of Brett Beatty's injury. And while it isn't too significant, the timetable is. It is the remainder of the season for Brett, as he has a UCL tear in his right thumb. The Mets got further imaging because he could run. They just want to see if he could grip the bat well. And after they did that, got surgery. I believe he got surgery today or yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So he'll be out and assume 5 weeks with potential to return to the Mets come playoff time. And my question to you guys is do you expect Brett Beatty, upon his return, to have still a potential impact on his club? Because at that point, we're looking at Eduardo Escobar, Luis Guillorme platooning commanding third base. Guillorme gained some time at second, McNeil in left based on matchups. So starting with you, Joe, what's your take right now on Brett Beatty being out, unfortunately, for the remainder of the regular season, with hopes that he will return come playoff time?
Yeah, well, first off, that's a brutal injury. I know people hear thumb and they're like, oh, it's just his thumb. I actually sprained my UCL when I was in high school and missed my 10th grade season because I heard it playing basketball, blocking a shot.
Wow.
I was playing pickup, and I was going up against some guy. He was like a combination of you two. He was like your height, T, but Wreckers, And he was going in for a layup.
Like meathead boy, yeah.
Yeah, right? Like 5'5" by 5'5".
Yeah.
And he was going in for a layup, and I swatted the thing, and he kept pushing up, and my thumb touched my forearm.
Oh,
Naturally, I can't do that. So that was a brutal injury, and I had to miss baseball season because of that. So that's not a fun one. So I hope Brett gets back soon, but I think this is a lost season for him. With Guillorme coming back, and I mentioned a guy like Terrence Gore is probably going to need a roster spot come the postseason. And then you've got that DH platoon that kind of binds you. I think that Beatty's 2022 season is done. I hope he comes out in the spring and is our starting opening day third baseman next year and every year for the rest of his career. But I think this season, get healthy. The Mets kind of got here without him. He provided some fun fireworks, but they got here without him. I think they can be fine.
Yeah, I agree. It's just unfortunate timing. Literally the fact that he'll be out until the postseason. And although he got his feet wet, he didn't really get to get in a groove and be a part of this team and really understand what it takes and is like to be a big leaguer. And he's going to have nothing. He's going to be coming off and nothing. There's going to be nowhere for him to rehab and get games in. And so he's just going to be coming back and trying to play. No, they're not going to have time for that. They're going to have time to say, oh yeah, take a few ABs in the postseason and try to see if you get right. And then we'll use you. There's no way to do that. Yeah, they'll have guys that are trying to throw live and he'll take BP. It's not the same. And it's unfortunate. But again, like you said, it's, to me, you said lost season. I don't think you meant it quite like that, because to me, I thought it was it's a great season. And I'm excited for him and what he can bring to this team next year. He's got a little bit of work to do still, but we saw some raw tools. We saw some talent. We saw some power. We saw everything that we wanted to see from him. So to me, it's just exciting to be thinking about next year. Of course, it is frustrating that he won't be a part of this team for the postseason.
Yeah, I didn't intend any negativity when I said lost.
Yeah, I know you did.
I meant the season's over. I just meant, the season's over. The Mets are going to have 2 third basemen on the roster with Guillorme and Escobar. And, like I said, having that DH platoon, having a guy like Gore who's a pinch runner, maybe they want a third catcher. There's just other ways that they're going to have to utilize those roster spots come postseason time. Look, guys, we're up over an hour already. Nationals are coming to town this weekend. Nationals are, just hanging out at the bottom of the division. There's not too many matchups. The Mets throwing Peterson, Scherzer, and then the return of Cookie out there this series. But, I don't think we need to get into Espino's 5+ ERA too far in depth. So I do want to pose this question before the stretch of 16 games in a row against teams below 500. Give me a record prediction. How are the Mets going to fare? Maybe we'll come back in a couple weeks and see how we do in those 16 games. T, we could start with you on this one.
12-4.
Took mine. You took mine.
Yeah.
Rec?
12-4.
I like it. I've been a part of some of these teams that are really bad late in the year, and I've been a part of having some fun against teams that are good. And it's a different. September is a different time in baseball. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how bad you've been the whole year. You get a couple call-ups. I know it's not the same anymore. It's not a 40-man roster or anything silly, but you get a couple call-ups. You get some fresh blood. There's new guys in there, and it's that time for some of these other teams that aren't in it to see what they have next year. Maybe they do call up a couple of young guys or whatever it is. It's a different time. So I'm bullish on the Mets still playing good baseball. But I think these teams are going to play them tougher, kind of like the Rockies just did. Now, the Rockies have been playing a little better anyway. They gave the Braves fits, even though the Braves
They were tight games,
won the series. They gave the Braves fits too. That's how these games surprise. You're going to be surprised at how well some of these teams play. I've seen the Cubs lately. I mean, they've gone in and out of playing terrible and playing
Toronto an issue. Yeah, out of nowhere.
Cubs had a stretch where they were like 10-6 or 11-6 in 16
exactly.
seconds.
So that's all I'm saying. So I'm not going to go. I'm going to go 10-6, and I'm going to say that that's fine because that Braves team is going to start playing some of these teams. I think they have the Dodgers left. I think that they have some tough matchups.
I know they have some games with the
Phillies, the Mariners.
So they've got a really tough road. So I think 10-6 is more than enough to say, like, yeah, they're going to get it done. They're going to keep winning games. They can't go into cruise control. If they think that they can go into cruise control, this Mets team, they're going to be in trouble. They keep coming out, and they're not going $200. They come out, they keep playing ball. They go 10-6. I think this team is going to be fine. They're still going to be on top of the division at the end of the year, and it'll all be good. It is going to be. They can't go in cruise. I can't say it enough. I can't stress it enough because, like I said, I've been a part of those terrible teams that just love it when you come to town, and you just see what happens. You play your best, and you never know. And yeah, things can happen in September.
Yeah, I mean, not that they were a terrible team by any means, but the 2014 Mets, a lot of people overlook that team. They were out of it in August, but that team had a hot September. I think you guys ended up winning 78, 79 games, almost finishing 500, because in September, we were out of it. There was no pressure. Look, when I was younger, my dad used to always say, right, like if you're ever at a bar, just make sure the guy next to you, doesn't have nothing to lose, because those are the most dangerous guys, right? Those are the most dangerous teams in sports. The team that has nothing to lose, and they can just play spoiler. I think that 2014 team, that was their first taste at winning, and then obviously we know what happened in 2015.
100%. I agree with you. It can set the table.
T, you look like you had something that you were. I thought I saw a pen.
No, you saw a finger. And I just want to let everyone know, if you guys are watching this, especially on YouTube today, this Friday, make sure to look out for your schmuck. I'm going to be in the Get Wrecked shirt, so I will be in attendance at the game. There we go.
Oh, baby.
Thai tacos, Taiwan Walker giving out free tacos in the parking lot, 5:15. Hell yes, I'm absolutely going to be there. Look out for the short schmuck.
Yes. You should casually just be like, hey, Ty, what's your address? I want to send you one of our shirts.
Yeah, no, I'm actually going to bring one of my business cards. I'm going to hand it to him if I can.
There you go.
One more thing, though. One more thing.
You guys know he's right here, right? Like, all you got to do is ask.
That's true.
We don't all have blue check marks, Rec.
No, it's not the...
Oh, you're talking phone number. I thought you meant Twitter.
Oh, yeah, he's not a phone number. What, do you think Rec knows nobody? Come on, this guy.
Come on.
Did you guys ever play together? I mean, were you in Arizona with him? Because your baseball reference picture. Why are you in
Hey, I got a guy, okay? I got a guy. You need a guy?
He's got a guy. He's got a guy that's got a guy,
I got a guy.
Yeah.
I played with Ty. I mean, we were in spring training together. Got to know him. He's a great dude. He's the best. He's awesome.
Yeah, he seems great. I still don't understand why your baseball reference picture is a Diamondbacks uniform.
Last organization I was with.
played more than triple the games with the Mets than any other team. And it's a D-backs uniform.
I can call them. Maybe they'll change it. I don't know. I would love for them to change it. I don't want to be in I never actually wore a
Yeah, so you
D-backs
had a
uniform.
direct. What's going on?
Not a baseball reference. Come on. That's like some. I don't want to.
Yeah, don't. Yeah. You're good. You're good.
It was amazing. Well, guys, I don't know. It's getting late on the East Coast. It's 8:00 here in LA. I'm going to watch some turtle racing tonight.
Oh, you know what? I haven't checked on the Penn State game in a while. I totally. You guys, we had such a good time. I didn't even think about the Penn State game. Yeah, I'm just going to give our. I'm going to give our audience a quick update because I know we got some Penn State fans out there.
For sure.
We are, even though they'll already have read the paper by the time this episode comes out.
Where is it? Why? Oh, it's not on there. Okay.
Oh no!
Don't do that to me, you.
We're
oh my gosh, they are losing in the fourth quarter.
Oh my god!
All right, 12 minutes left.
They haven't scored a point in the second half yet. The third quarter, they just
scored 2 touchdowns.
Oh my god, my buddy Jonah, I was telling Rec this off air. He's a senior at Purdue. He's losing his mind right now. Absolutely losing his mind.
West Virginia should cover. They're down 7 with a minute to go, and they're driving.
Nobody cares. Shut up about West Virginia. It's all about Penn State. Let's go.
All right. You know what? I think with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm gonna get to my turtle race.
Wait, I see Drew Aller. Drew Aller is in the game for Penn State. So either Clifford got hurt or he got yanked.
Ooh.
Nobody, you guys don't care about this. Turn this thing.
I care. I just really want you guys to come to LA and go watch a turtle race with me.
I want to watch a turtle race more than life itself. Absolutely.
That's going to be fun. I need to go see a turtle race.
Right? Or we could just have Vogelback and Nito race each other. But
that's true. That's true.
I wanted to race Wilmer back in the day, and he would never do it. He would not
because he knew he'd lose.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, he's the slowest man alive.
Oh my god. But Nito's fit. He doesn't look like. I don't get why Tomas Nito is so slow. Maybe it's the catching knees.
Maybe I don't know. I never had that. I'm good.
Were you?
Never had the catching problem.
Were you fast? Were you like sneaky fast?
I could run a little bit. Go check out that Baseball Savant page. I think I hit 50th percentile one year. Like I was literally a league average runner.
Wow.
My bad.
Catcher.
That's
yeah.
I'm not JT Realmuto, but
yeah, right. No Jason Kendall back in the day, but it's like we're talking about like a white D-back, like the guy's sneaky athletic. Like Wrecker, were you sneaky fast?
Heck yeah! Come on, guys. Athlete.
I love
athlete first.
Elite. Like we always used to say, student athlete. That's episode 19.
That I was.
D3,
baby.
Ward, Anthony Wrecker, Joe Sorello. We'll see you guys for episode 20. That's the Wrecker episode 20, next week.